Okay, guys, so the hearing just ended not too long ago. Well, the SEC hearing that was going over the Congress was going over SEC oversight. It ended not too long ago. It was a little bit more interesting than I was expecting it to be. Main reason it was like a little more interesting than I thought it was gonna be is because I thought that they were gonna beat around the bush a lot more, and some of them did. Mainly the guy who was supposed to be representing the SEC, and that's also one of the main things I noticed too is the fact that Gary Gensler himself, he didn't show up. I felt like that. I felt that was a little cowardice. Not even a little. I felt that was coward. I felt that was very cowardly, or I felt that was a coward move, I should say. You bring in one of your underlings in, like one of your, not yes men, but you bring in one of the people that are supposed to be under you to go talk when you're supposed to be the face. So I'd imagine like that it would have been more appropriate for you to show up and answer these questions that you got this guy answering. And most of the time he's not trying to answer anything. He's beating around the bush. He's keeps trying to put out these disclaimers. Oh, this is in litigation and that, and he just trying to avoid answering questions because again, they know the people running the SEC know, including this guy. He knows if he tells the truth on any of these things that they are completely screwed. But several of the Congress people, they actually did bring up cryptocurrency and even more specifically XRP. And but one of the a few takeaways that I took away was the mention of like a bloodbath. Like one of the people brought up the fact that the SEC has had a reputation of just sending out these letters basically threatening companies, trying to bait them into coming in and talking to them as if they're actually trying to work with them, but then in reality turn right back around and hit them with really just like a really serious threat, saying if you don't do this or that for us, or if you don't register this, or if you don't do this or that, then it's gonna be a bloodbath. Now I've never seen any documentation where they specifically said bloodbath, but this person actually spoke as if that sort of as if that's actually how they speak. If it is, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that's really interesting if it turned out to be true that they were like in some form of writing, in some document, like using the exact word bloodbath. Because again, that goes back to what I've been saying, that they're running, like a lot of the people in government, they're running these groups as if it's just like a crime organization. Like they're running it like it's the mafia. So I thought that was interesting, like the fact that the term bloodbath was used in there. Also, I think it was the same guy. He also brought up a hypothetical situation, or what he claimed was a hypothetical situation, but he was referring to like the Hinman speech, where he was bringing up the fact that individuals from the SEC, being like William Hinman, they're trying to put out this disclaimer that, oh, these opinions are only my views and not the SEC's, but then you put out a statement giving not clarity, but giving a pass to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then turning right back around on all the other cryptos and then attacking them and saying that they are not properly registered and need to be this or that. And also there were several Congress people who brought up the fact that this organization, the SEC, what they're doing doesn't make sense, because and they weren't even just talking about crypto in that aspect. They were talking in general, as far as like feeling like the SEC is trying to overreach and go into a bunch of lanes that they really don't have any business being a part of. Like if I'm not mistaken, there was something they were trying to get involved in related to like the whole green energy wave and all that. But they did bring this point up about clarity and related it and brought it back to crypto, just to make that point of like, hey, like it doesn't make sense that you're trying to ask for more money to regulate an environment that you haven't brought any clarity to. It doesn't make sense that you want to like enforce laws that technically shouldn't even apply, when you're not even explaining to these people how they're breaking the law in the first place. You're just just essentially just extorting them. So yeah, that was just a few quick thoughts that I had. It was like it felt like a good 2 hours long. I'm not sure exactly how long it was, but I'm gonna like end this video with just like a clip that shout out to Crypto Aries. She had bought like the very clip that I was referencing. She had actually just a few seconds ago just uploaded a clip like from that whole hearing that I'm gonna play now, just to give people an idea of what they were talking about.
Subcommittee will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess subcommittee at any time. Without objection, members of the full committee, not members of the subcommittee, are authorized to participate in today's hearings.
Seems like some things are given a pass and some things are targeted. What's the criteria for targeting?
There's no selective prosecution. We have to balance the risk that we're seeing with the resources that we have, and we have a number of investigations.
Maybe the big ones take too many resources to go after, so you just say, well they'll get a pass?
No, I'm very proud of the work that the 1,300 women, men in my division do. They don't give people a pass. They hold violators accountable.
Okay, let me run a hypothetical scenario by you. Say an SEC official gives a speech at a conference, and the official begins, of course, by stating that, quote, their views are their own and not necessarily those of the commission. Anyone who's ever heard an SEC office official speak would know that this is standard, and they would not interpret it, the speech, as legal guidance. However, let's say that the SEC official consulted SEC staff and perhaps even ethics directly to assist them in writing speech or giving guidance. Under this scenario, would the written speech still be considered personal views of the individual and not views of the commission?
Respectfully, I can't answer that right now because that hypothetical is a real scenario that's playing out in litigation.
Oh, what litigation would that be?
That would be the Ripple litigation.
Ripple XRP. So is it true that Director Hinman submitted his speech to ethics for approval?
Again, I can't comment on pending litigation.
Okay.
Has Chair Gensler ever directed you, or to your knowledge asked any of your colleagues, to make it a bloodbath for companies who don't respond to a sweep letter, which are voluntary?
No, that's not happening.
Interesting. We've become aware that Chair Gensler has in the past directed the Division of Enforcement to send a sweep letter to a particular sector of the crypto community designed to jam them into a violation that is allegedly unconstitutional. And if any company does not respond to said sweep letter, which I'll reiterate, as you've said several times, are supposed to be voluntary, then the SEC would make it a, quote, bloodbath for them. If true, I imagine such a tactic would significantly erode trust between the public and the SEC. Here's the problem. The SEC isn't interested in clarifying what areas of the crypto industry fall under SEC jurisdiction. We know that because FinHub, that you've referred to, the SEC division focused on crafting crypto regulation, has essentially dissolved under Gensler. Nonetheless, while abandoning good faith attempts to clarify how the Commission's existing authority applies to digital assets, the SEC is hell-bent on expanding the size of its crypto enforcement division and using enforcement to unconstitutionally expand its jurisdiction. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has become a power-hungry regulator, politicizing enforcement, baiting companies to, quote, come in and talk to the Commission, then hitting them with enforcement actions and discouraging good faith cooperation. Understand, sir, there is a new day coming. Thank you. I yield back.
It's easier to go after the small fish than the big fish. But the big fish operating the major exchanges did many, many tens of thousands of transactions with XRP. You know it's a security. That means they were illegally operating a securities exchange. They know it's illegal because they stopped doing it, even though it was profitable. So if they know it's illegal, and you know it's illegal, and I know it's illegal, I hope you focus on that. And then finally, we have Tether, which is broke a money market mutual fund in every way. It broke the buck. Can you? I realize you're reluctant to talk about individual matters, but can you tell us why you went after Terra, but not Tether?
Again, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on who we're going after or not going after, but I understand your concerns, and we've added resources to our crypto assets unit to look at issues that put investors at risk, including the issues you've raised in your questions.
Add fortitude and courage as well. you're going to have to take on some cases that you're not certain of winning.
Chairman. The flurry of activity is evidence that the rapidly evolving enforcement and regulatory landscape at the SEC is an indicator of things to come. I don't think it's going to slow up. In the past, increased enforcement activity at the Commission has signaled that they will act aggressively, pressing the boundaries of their enforcement authority. So of note, look no further than the SEC's announcement this past May to nearly double its crypto enforcement unit. While the Commission does not intend to provide any clarity surrounding the application of securities laws to digital assets, the unit plans to focus on violations related to crypto asset offerings. So crypto asset exchanges, crypto asset lending and staking products, decentralized finance platforms, non-fungible tokens, stable coins, et cetera, et cetera. So it's worth mentioning that of the 63 items included in the agency's rulemaking agenda this past spring, exactly 0 pertain to digital assets. In addition to the division's proactive enforcement efforts, your words, not mine, the SEC continues to use its own administrative law judges to adjudicate enforcement actions, a controversial decision that has been used increasingly over the past decade. In a recent court decision, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals noted that Congress has unconstitutionally delegated legislative power to the SEC when it allowed the Commission to decide when to use these ALJs. And coupled with the SEC's own admission earlier this year that there was a control deficiency related to the separation of the SEC's enforcement and adjudicatory functions with serious ramifications regarding the fairness of prior SEC enforcement actions for the party subject to those actions. So finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the one person who is not here this morning, the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Chair Gensler. But I know he is paying attention. So, Chair Gensler, while I appreciate you allowing the Director Graywall to come in before the subcommittee, I can't help but mention your absence and request your attendance.
There have been a number of comments of our colleagues about the need for definition. No definition is more important than to define security, since that's what the SEC does. Congress really hasn't acted. Courts have acted with the Howey test, which was not focused on digital assets since it was written in the 1940s. The fact remains XRP, I think, clearly is a security, and we need enforcement not only on those who issued the unregistered security, but those who provided in exchange for it. Likewise, it would be good to have a definition of ESG. But right now, companies and mutual funds put forward their own definitions of ESG and promise the investors that they will follow them. When they don't, that's when enforcement is called for. It is not enforcement by regulation to take a security which clearly